QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021 Adjusting Entry Worksheet Creation. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Desktop 2021. Here we are in our Get Great Guitars homepage. We currently have the open windows open. You can open the open windows by going to the View dropdown, selecting the open windows list. We're going to be creating an adjusting entry worksheet. We will do that by creating a report in QuickBooks and exporting it to Excel, then adjusting that report in Excel. We want to do this for a couple different reasons. Note going into it, however, that you may not be wanting to do the adjusting entries in Excel. You might think, hey, this is something that I want possibly a CPA firm or my accounting firm to do periodically, or it might be something that you're going to say, hey, I'm just going to do this within the QuickBooks system. But I think it's useful to export it to Excel for a few different reasons. One, it's good to be able to export something to Excel and realize that you can then adjust that data in Excel to whatever you need to fit your needs. And two, it'll give us an idea of how you might work with a CPA firm to do the adjusting entries process. It might be useful to do the adjusting entries outside of the QuickBooks system so that you can then, once entering it into the QuickBooks system, know exactly what type of transactions are the adjusting entry transactions and enter them at one point in time rather than basically entering them into the system. This is a common type of practice that will be done for like adjusting entries and tax type of entries. So to do that, let's go to our end result. First of all, will be looking something like this. So this is going to be our end result. We basically want to have the beginning trial balance over here, and this is going to be all of our accounts and the numbers that are in there as of the cutoff date, which is going to be February 28th. That's the date on which we want the financial statements to be correct. Then we're going to do our adjusting entries, which here we'll do with debits and credits. So these are going to be the adjustments, increasing and decreasing the account. And that'll give us then our ending trial balance. And this will be the trial balance that would then be used in order to create financial statements. You can create your financial statements from the end numbers over here. Now, this section on the left is going to be where we will enter the journal entries. So we would enter the debits and credits over here, post them to our adjusting entries worksheet, and then that's how we would get our adjustments. Down below, down here, we could see we are in balance by the debits equaling the credits. Net income can be nicely calculated by these items down below, and there we have it. So let's open up our reports. I'm going to go back to QuickBooks here. We're going to go to the reports drop down. Let's open up our accounting and taxes trial balance. I'm just going to change the dates. Now I'm going to make it for the year to date as of February. So it's going to be 01/01/21 to 02/28/21. Here's going to be our trial balance. This is just our starting point. I'm just going to export this thing to Excel and then we'll modify it within Excel. So I'm going to say, all right, let's export this to Excel. So I'm going to create an Excel worksheet. I'm going to create a new Excel worksheet and a new Excel workbook by simply exporting it. It's going to be in a new workbook as well. That is correct. So I'm going to say, OK, export, please. Here is our trial balance. Now I'm just going to save this. I'm going to save this to our folder. So I'm not this one. Here we go. So I'm going to go to the File tab. I'm going to go to the Save As, Browse. We're going to be looking for the folder that we want to put it in. It's going to be mine's on the desktop. And we want it in the data files. So we're going to say the data file. This is going to be section 10. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to say this is going to be section 10. And this is adjusting entries. And so we'll save it in here. So double clicking on that item. I'm going to call it then an adjusting entry worksheet, and I'll put the date 02/28/21. And so we'll save this, and I'm going to say yes. Now, I'm going to do the adjustments fairly quickly because I know this isn't an Excel course, but just to show you how you can basically modify this data, so I'll do this pretty quickly here. So I want to make this worksheet now basically look like this. So we're going to make this adjustment. We'll also provide you with this worksheet as well. So if you just want to use this worksheet to like practice to the data input within it, as we go forward with the adjusting entries, we'll do it both ways in this worksheet and in QuickBooks when we do the adjustments. Okay, so first off, I'm going to do my normal process, go into the page layout tab. I'm going to say OK. That shows me the page splits. I want to get rid of the page splits, so I'm going to go to the View tab up top, Windows Group, remove the splits. Then I don't really need the date thing up here too, so I'm going to remove the dates up top. Going to go back to the first tab, the first view option, normal, and then I'm going to go to the first tab, right-click on that tab, we don't need it, and delete that tab. So I'm going to say, okay, delete. Okay, so then I don't need this header section, these two items up top. So I'm going to put my cursor on the number 1 row to number 2, and then I'm letting go, right-click the selected area, and I'm going to delete that. And then I don't need this like small A here, so I'm going to delete that column, clicking on that. Notice there's a total down here, that's okay. I'm going to delete it, right-click and delete. So we remove that. And then I don't want the totals down here either. I'll resum up the totals in a second. So I'm going to put my cursor on this 34, right-click on it, and delete it. Then I like to format the entire worksheet. So I put my cursor on this little triangle that selects the entire worksheet. Right-click on that selected area. I'm going to format the cells for the entire worksheet now. I usually make them currency. I'm going to put bracketed numbers negative. I do want to keep the decimals, so I'll keep the decimals here and no dollar signs, so that's good. I'm going to say okay. And then over here, notice if I type over here, it's a little bit different of the format because QuickBooks made it smaller. So in other words, this one is 11 and this is 8 in Arial. 8 in Arial, this is 11 and Calibri or whatever. So I want to make them all Calibri because that's like the default for Excel. So what I'll do is so I don't have this different kind of formatting for different cells. And you could do this whichever one you like. If you like this one at 8, or if you like this this format at the Arial, you can choose that in the same format and select the entire worksheet. I'm going to choose this one. I'm going to go to the Home tab, Clipboard, Paintbrush, and then I want to paintbrush the entire worksheet so it'll be formatted in this format. That has made these cells too small. That's what these little signs, hashtags mean or whatever. So I'm going to widen these cells. I'm going to widen these out so that I can see them. Putting my cursor right between the C and the B and the C and widening. I don't need column C. I don't need that column at all. So I'm going to right-click. I'm going to select that column, right-click on it, and delete it. Now what I want to do is I want to represent the credits as basically negative numbers, and this will make it a lot easier for us to do this kind of mathematically. We will only need 3 columns instead of 6 columns, and the formulas will be much easier by doing this. So in other words, we know this is in balance by the debits equal the credits. If I make the credits negative, I know it's going to be in balance because the debits minus the credits will be 0, right? Because they'll equal each other. So the easy way to do this, I want to flip the sign on all these. So I'm going to select the entire column, right-click on those items. I'm going to copy them. So copy them. And I usually practice by doing them some other place. So I'm going to put them over here just to make sure I flip the signs properly and I don't delete all the numbers. And then I'm going to right-click and I want to go to Paste Special, Paste Special. And then when I paste special, I'm going to go down to the paste special options. And I would like to subtract, meaning I'd like you to paste all the numbers and reverse the sign. So I'm going to say, okay. And so now we have those same numbers, but now they're all negative. So that looks like what I want. So I'm going to right click on it again and I'm going to copy it. So we'll copy it. And then I'm going to put my cursor over the top of the second column, right click and paste it. And it should paste over the top of it now. So then I no longer need column E. So I'm going to put my cursor on column E, right click and delete it. And then I got to move all these to one column. So I want to move them all over to one column. So I'm going to use you could just like move them like this, put your cursor on the line down here and move them. It's the same thing to use the cut feature, which is to select these. You can right click on them and cut it, which is the cut feature, and paste it. Same thing. Or you can use Control X, which is the easiest thing to do, I think, and then Control V. So I'm going to select these and Control X and Control V, and then this one, Control X and Control V. So now we have that, and so now if I have the total here, I can look at the total debits and credits, I'm going to use the sum function equals the sum of this entire thing. Summing up the whole thing, it should now add up to 0, we would expect. So there it adds up to 0, that looks good. I'm going to make this basically, what color did I make it over here? I'm going to make it black. So I'm going to say this will be black because it's the bottom, and white. So black and white on the text and fill. So there we have that. I like to bold the entire thing too, so I'm going to select the entire worksheet font and then bold it. So I'll bold the whole thing. And then I'd also like to see, well, let's keep going from there now. Now I'm going to add the headers up top. So I need to add 2 more rows so I can put the headers up top. So I'm going to select column 1 or row 1 and 2, the entire row. Right click on the selected area and insert. And then this is going to be my beginning trial balance as of the cutoff date, which is February. And this is going to be the ending, or this is going to be the let's just call it down here, adjustments. And then this is going to be the ending trial balance. And then I'm going to select those items. I'm going to center them, home tab, alignment, and center. I'm going to make them black and white again. So there we have that. I'm going to select these 3 columns, make them a little bit larger so that they'll fit. Okay, so these are where the adjustments will be. Now the ending number is just going to be the sum of where we started and the adjustment. So the ending column is going to be equal to the sum of these 2 columns. And then I'm just going to Control-C, copy that formula all the way down to here. So there we have that. And then I'll copy this formula to the right. Copy. So now we have the sum function going across the bottom. Now I'd like this sum function to indicate to me if this thing is out of balance. So if it's off by more than like $1, I'd like it to tell me, like, turn red or something. So to do that, I'm going to use these neat little formats up here. I'm going to go to the styles in the home tab, conditional. And I want to say, okay, if it's greater than 1, I want you to make it this default, the light red fill with dark red text. Okay. So in other words, if I make this like 2, then it turns red. And then I'm going to say, okay, and then if I want it, if it's like less than 1, negative 1, then I want you to do the same thing. So if it turns like negative 2, then that would do that. And if it's like in between those 2, meaning conditional formatting, in between those 2, in between negative 1 and 1, I'd like it to be green. So green item. So there we have it. So now if this flips to like negative 1 or negative 2, red. Or if it makes it 2 positive, red. But if it's 0 or within 1, then it'll be green. So that's going to be our formatting there. And so then I'll typically put a box around this whole thing. So I'm going to select these items and go to the home tab, font group, and then put a border around it. So let's put a border. I like to indicate what's the middle, like meaning where the equity section is. So the equity section is right here. These are the equity accounts. So everything above that and including these equity accounts are the balance sheet. Everything below that is the income statement. So I'll typically make this like a blue or something, just to indicate that that is the middle of this trial balance. That will help me to calculate our net income. Net income. Now the net income is going to come out as negative because our credits are negative. So the negative number doesn't mean negative income. It means that's what net income is. The credits are winning because the credits are negative. So I'm going to say this is going to be equal to the sum of my income statement. Everything below the blue item, sum of this down. And then I'm going to copy that and paste it here. And if I go back to QuickBooks and check out the income statement, reports drop down, company and financial profit and loss, change the dates from 01/01/21 to 12 to let's say 02/28/21. We have the income 10,362.09. So that should tie out here 10,362.09. That looks right. I'm going to make this once again black and white. So I'll make it black and white there. Okay, and then let's make this black and white. So now I'm also going to make this adjusting column like blue because that's where the data is going to be input. So I like to make it blue. So I'm going to select these. I like to make it this light blue, so I'm going to right click on it. And I'm going to say drop down. Now the light blue isn't here. You got to use this little color wheel. If you go to the color wheel, you're on the standard. There it is, right? That's the one I usually use. You can use whatever you want, but there it is. So it's light enough so I can see text in it and it doesn't bother me, but it indicates where I want to draw my eye when I'm actually recording the text. So that's what we have thus far. So that looks pretty good. Looks like what we have here. Now I got to enter this column to the right. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 columns. So I'm going to enter that to the right. I'm going to put my cursor on the column A, 1, 2, 3, 4, to column D. Let go, right click the selected area, and I want to insert. So we're going to insert columns there. And then I'll make this one a little bit larger. That's where our description is going to be. So I'll copy at least the words here, and we'll say copy. And this is going to be debit, credit. So this is going to be our period in 2/28/21, adjusting entries, debits, and credits. And then this will just be a little buffer column between the two. And so then I'm going to center these two, home tab, alignment. We'll center that out. And then let's make all these that black and white again, black and white. And then I'm going to make this whole thing blue. So I'm going to right click on this area and we'll make this blue. And then I'll put some borders around it, home tab, font group, borders. And I'm also just going to put our little notes. I won't format this, but I just want these here when we work on this. So I'll put these just to the right, right there. And then I'm going to try to make these two like the same width. I'm holding down Control to select them both, and then I'll make them kind of like the same width. Okay, so that's basically it. So now I'm going to make this a little bit larger. And so now we'll enter our adjusting entries here, and we'll post them over here, and that'll give us a nice, easy look, better and like easier to look at than what you see in QuickBooks, because you don't have to go find the journal entry that made the adjustment. I could say, hey, this is where I was before that. Here's the adjustment, and here's the ending number. So we'll see how that works when we enter it in this format. Really useful to do, so you can kind of analyze the effect of a limited amount of adjusting entries. So a very nice worksheet to use. Again, you're not required to use it, but this is one way that you might work with an accounting firm. They might do something like this, and they do it outside of the QuickBooks system, and then you could basically take their adjustments here and decide, to put them in and how to put them in, and put them in all at one time, and have the journal entries basically set up for you to enter those items. Okay, so we'll continue on with that next time, and we'll continue on with our adjusting process, entering the transactions both in here and into QuickBooks.